throwing up blood.
Okay, stop yelling.
He don't want to do anything.
You're not gonna yell at me, or I'm gonna take you to jail. Do you understand me? I'm standing right here.
You know what? Something horrific happened to a kid, man.
Amy turned to the police, trying to calm things down into a ridiculous little spiritual showdown with totally out of control behavior.
Taser! 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 Turn around now!
I don't want her to take a...
Instead of staying calm, she chose to go up against a taser, then got a not-so-soft landing on the ground. Just remember, an order of justice always gets delivered, whether you're a regular person or a witch.
Alright, you ready?
I'm a top... Ow! Ow!
Suspect Smith planned to record a talk show, but the only thing he really broadcast was an out-of-control act against an officer doing his job. Resisting police just to hang on to an illegal laptop ended up making his sentence far heavier.
Do you happen to have a picture of your ID? You come back here with me, my man. I'm just gonna get all your information while you're back here with me, okay? St. John's, he's taking off.
A routine traffic stop turned into a high-stakes confrontation where the suspect hit the gas and bolted. Speed might take you far.
Light blue shirt, light pants. We're going northeast into the woods.
He just stole a white van. He's headed back towards IGP. So off the tire. Get ready for a bail, guys. Running into the wet line.
Come here! Show me your hand! Show me your hand!
But it will never help you outrun the shadow of your own mistakes.
I got it. Yeah, you did this, buddy.
Spain is under a total lockdown, but this young guy still thinks his motorcycle and his ego matter more than the lives of 85,000 sick patients. Every attempt to talk to him was met with aggression, until he ripped off an officer's mask, leaving police no choice but to use force to shut down his arrogance. Right after snatching a phone on the street, the masked thief had the worst luck, running into undercover detectives. Instant karma struck like lightning, flipping him from predator to prisoner in an instant.
You want arrest report on suspicion of group theft.
That high moment in the garage quickly turned into a disaster when Joseph Dunn got caught by Fargo police thanks to the security cameras.
Larger than I on camera smoking meth in the.
I wasn't smoking meth, I was just walking through. Yeah, I didn't do nothing. Can
you just go ahead and put your.
No, can I call?
Stop! Want to taste point, no side television.
A dramatic chase through the Salvation Army parking lot ended fast with a ruthless takedown from law enforcement.
On the north side of Salvation.
Big seat.
Carrying a dangerous object and acting completely unfazed, this suspect seemed to forget he was being closely watched by patrol officers. Police gave him no chance, decisively drawing their weapons and taking control, turning a dangerous moment into a textbook arrest. All it took was one heavy hit on the gas, and Corey turned a normal patrol car into a full-speed run straight into the town's criminal record.
Get on the ground! Right now! Get on the ground!
While fleeing, he even tossed weapons and drugs onto the road, like a late confession without saying a word.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Cold as hell. You can't identify me as nothing but black.
Shakira loudly demanded her human rights while disrupting someone else's business and testing police patience with uncontrolled outbursts.
You're not gonna shoot me nowhere, ma'am.
If you don't leave right now, you're gonna go to jail for trespass after
Who gives
warning.
a
You wanna go to jail?
Call my motherfucking lawyer right now.
That's
Blah,
okay.
blah, blah.
So if you don't leave, alright.
A few minutes of shouting and resistance traded for a shocking experience and a longer legal record than expected. When you demand justice by causing disorder, the result is not an apology. It's usually a police report.
You don't give a f- we going to the door with this piece. Disrespectful. You don't give a f- about nobody. Off y'all.
Use your feet, stand up.
I ain't standing up.
When the taser failed to do the job, officers had no choice but to switch tactics to bring the chase to an end.
Give me your hand.
After sparking a high-speed chase, the suspect then sued the police for releasing a canine while he was already on his knees surrendering.
Let me see your hands. Flash him. Flash him. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Get that bad guy. Stop fighting. Get that bad guy.
What do you think? Was this a necessary hardline response to a dangerous suspect, or did it cross the line into excessive force? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Joel Sanchez Delgado staged a perfect medical act, playing the poor victim in a wheelchair and neck brace to lower the guards' alert before reaching the courthouse. The second they got near the entrance, he suddenly ditched the wheelchair and braced to make a run for it, forcing police to launch a full-area manhunt. Being sneaky might help you get away for a few hours, but it only adds to your criminal record and makes the legal punishment that much worse. In Mianyang, China, a grill restaurant owner decided to rezone a public road to save parking spots for his customers. Unfortunately, traffic police weren't impressed, and his reward for creativity was a round of community service, putting the street back the way it was. This motorcyclist took a simple lost wallet and escalated it into a full police chase in Oklahoma County.
No, this is actually my wife. Man, hold it for me. Oh.
Stop. I'm gonna tase you. I'm gonna tase you.
He seemed to believe raw horsepower could make up for not carrying any ID.
I'm gonna tase you. Stop. Get on the ground.
The real mistake wasn't losing the wallet, it was thinking he could outrun the speed of justice. Instead of paying the bill and leaving, these two chose to invest in a bleak future by assaulting the police. Their aggressive behavior was quickly brought under control as officers stepped in to stabilize the situation and keep everyone safe. Remember, the gold medal for stupidity is usually a one-way ticket to the station, along with a growing list of charges.
You're getting all types of attitude right now, and we are just...
In the middle of the crowds at Piccadilly, a daring escape attempt by a group of thieves turned the streets of London into a battlefield. To prevent the suspects from endangering the public, undercover officers decided to execute a tactical collision, pinning the Mini Cooper right on the spot. Aaron and his mom seemed to be speeding up their own eviction by turning a rented apartment into an illegal junk storage site. Things escalated when the two decided to loudly attack anyone who dared come near their so-called territory. It's ironic to think a few torn mattresses matter more than the peace of neighbors who've lived there for years.
Don't go on my car. I'm not going to your car. Back up.
Bro, don't touch me, bro. You can't touch me, bro. Straight up.
What are you doing out here? You just chilling?
Chilling, bro. I'm rapping in the car. What else you want from me?
You're jumping around. Getting a little bit nervous on me.
Resisting a vehicle search took this guy from relax mode to face down in the dust. A chill afternoon at the park suddenly turned into an interrogation scene because it was a drug hotspot.
But we get a lot of bad stuff happens out here. We get gang and drug activity. We get all kinds of stuff out here. We'll go ahead and get your hair, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing well. You have a license on you?
That's about it.
Given a chance by police to handle a minor traffic violation calmly, this DoorDash driver could have been on his way with nothing more than a simple ticket.
Hold it. Tip my pen with your eyes and your eyes only. Don't move your head. You understand that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you've had too much to drink to be driving right now. All this is gonna be is a traffic ticket. We'll get a breath sample from you and we'll get you back on your way, okay?
Instead of choosing cooperation, he chose confrontation, fighting back hard enough that officers had to use a stun gun to cool down a head overheated by alcohol.
You're gonna get tased. Tase him. Get on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. Do it now. Other hand now. Put your hands behind your back. Do it.
And just like that, turning a small issue into a big one paid off perfectly. Instead of delivering the next order, he personally shipped himself to jail for a 25-day stay. When McDonald's employees became heroes without capes, Jennifer's drug-filled ride was stopped right before disaster could happen.
What happened that you saw with this? Who, first of all, before we say that, who was driving?
How she was behaving, and I got concerned that she has a baby in the car.
Yeah.
She looks like she's on something.
Roll that down.
I was getting
Are you going over there with it? Keep an eye on her, okay?
Sure.
I gotta talk to you. So,
Hi.
Every attempt to ride it was pointless when police exposed to the dark treasure inside this spaced-out mom's bag.
exercises to dispel my concern.
Okay.
Okay, so that's your left, yep. Now bring your right foot in front, heel touching toe, just like I'm doing. Left. All right, at this time you are being placed under arrest.
All I did was just count. I didn't count one Mississippi,
Well,
two
that
Mississippi.
was just one exercise.
Justice was served fast, sending someone who disrespected the law to a place where freedom is just a luxury memory.
That looks like fentanyl to me.
Hi, Tyler. What's going on?
A desperate mother called police to save her son from a paranoid episode, never expecting Tyler to turn into a real nightmare for officers.
I don't feel safe
With your medication.
anymore.
I don't have medication. Exactly.
I don't want to get back to being psychotic again.
Definitely not that. Put your cigar out. We're gonna go to the hospital now, okay?
He's got a knife. He's got a knife.
A sudden burst of violence took him from someone needing help to a dangerous suspect in just seconds.
Flip over, turn over.
It's hard to explain in court that it all started with hallucinations because the law looks at an injured officer and delivers its verdict accordingly.
George is at the hospital.
The worst check-in experience in history started when Jelena decided to cut the line and shower the officers with a rain of insults.
I don't live out here. You're saying I'm free to leave, but where am I going? I don't live out here.
She's going to jail.
No, I did not.
I'm 1939, can't advise your exact location.
Just lane 13. Hey. Bring it down.
Alcohol can make you lose your way, but the security cameras never forget the exact moment you made yourself the center of trouble. It's pretty ridiculous how you can cause a scene across an entire secure area, yet complain that the handcuffs are too tight when you're taken away.
I don't need no seatbelt. Loosen the handcuffs. You don't want a seatbelt? I don't know. Yeah, I need to read me my rights. That's it.
A failed robbery briefly disrupted the calm at a shopping center in the Canary Islands. Officers quickly moved in, forming up and using decisive tactics to shut down the suspect's violence right on the spot.
God damn. No!
Deciding to floor it instead of pulling over, the Mercedes driver personally upgraded this violation from a simple traffic violation to a criminal case.
Alright, just give us a second. Did you call? Let's just put your back against the wall for me. Alright, keep your hands away. Alright. Listen,
But for what? Why am I the one that you coming at?
Now you have a knife on you.
So what? Coming at that other time. I'm homeless. I live on the street.
Estan seemed to temporarily forgot what had just happened, strongly denying the assault.
Punches her. Punches her again.
You mean anybody got to grab her first? Drunk ass. On your back. No, you said wait. No, I didn't hear her.
Though police already had video from the cameras, an unnecessary struggle with officers only made her file thicker, stacked with undeniable charges. Justice might arrive a beat late, but consequences always show up right on time for those who choose recklessness.
That's exactly what you did. No.
Over here. Over there.
Police tried to carry out the arrest after Amaz assaulted a customer, but it ended up turning into a violent brawl.
Doesn't matter if you don't are getting
She's in my home, and I also don't give you permission.
Take her to your car and call the mother.
Weird. She wasn't showing her full face.
Okay, fine. Like, cause this big old porn stash over there can get cussed out too.
We're at a house where a subject got arrested.
Under arrest.
Okay, but y'all being weird. Y'all are touching my home. His mother.
Okay.
Ow.
No, him.
We got this one. Do you know?
Hey, sheriff's office. Hey, let me see your hands.
Get on your knees now. Do not move. Put your hands on your back now.
Get her.
You back? You don't look like
The suspect suddenly started causing trouble and put a female officer's safety at risk, then kept making things even more tense right there in public. One out-of-control move can turn a normal trip into a long string of legal trouble. Riding a stolen mini motorcycle, the suspect recklessly tore from Gardena Strait into downtown LA. He even veered into oncoming traffic on the 110 freeway before pulling a U-turn, baiting law enforcement through a series of complex intersections. The arrogance ended when the net closed in at the 405, the final chapter of a blind journey that challenged every limit of sanity.
How you doing, ma'am? What's going on today? Tell me. I'm coming to ask you. You don't know? Do me a favor. Take your hands out of your pockets, yeah?
I don't gotta take my hands out.
Vandalism was just the warm-up, as the suspect pushed himself closer to a court date by pulling out a belt with a metal buckle to threaten officers.
You got that belt on, ma'am? If you swing that belt...
Not touch.
Come here.
The resistance ended with a quick, clean takedown, where no amount of struggling could beat professional police training.
Stop, roll.
Remember, handcuffs aren't afraid of whips, and concrete is always hard enough to cool down hotheads who treat violence as a language. Thinking they'd score a juicy Rolex in Soho, the thieves had no idea they were running into a perfect trap. They grabbed a fake and slammed headfirst into special police. In a split second, the hunters became the hunted by justice. It all started when a group of teens causing trouble at Walmart were detained, and their dad, Jonah Harrington, had to come to the scene to deal with it. But instead of taking his kid home, he suddenly rushed in and attacked the police, and kept fighting hard, even after being taken down right there on the spot. Never use your fists to talk to justice, because the price for 1 minute of fake cool is years of losing your freedom.
What's going on?
Just out of rehab, the suspect immediately began insulting the police and threatening violence when officers woke him up for a welfare check.
But look me in my eyes. What's up with you? Come on. What's up with you? Sit down. Put it down. I got it, bro. Put it down. Again, 3 times since that. What's that?
Police were forced to use a taser to restrain him after he ignored all warnings and moved in to attack them. When your money can't buy your sobriety, maybe don't talk about income to the people already holding a pair of handcuffs waiting for you. The line between a soldier's honor and personal arrogance collapsed in a 40 miles per hour zone.
Hey, Colonel, you want to roll your window down?
No.
Why not?
Why are you detaining me? Yes.
Are you gonna roll your window down all the way?
No. Can you hear me?
I can't. Problem.
After repeated attempts to reason with him failed, a shattered car window became the final price for refusing a lawful order.
Yes or no? Are you prepared to spend the rest of the night in jail? Yeah. Okay, break the window and take her out. That's
When you place yourself above the law, the fall of honor always begins with the smallest
Sir, my
mistake.
glasses and you...
Right there. They're right behind you.
Okay.
Right now. She's got jewelry.
From a report of stolen jewelry in a changing room, police quickly tracked down the suspect as she ran toward the parking area.
For socks. Going to jail for socks? Let's get inside. They got a loss prevention area. We'll search her there. Yeah. Where's your LP?
A search then exposed all the stolen items, along with the truth about her identity as a heavily wanted fugitive.
Look at me. Because you ran, you have an extra charge. You're a minor? How old are you?
November 14, 2002.
How old are you? You said 2002?
Yeah.
You're 20. You're not a minor.
All for a bit of greed, she turned herself into the main character of a very short action scene.
Go ahead and have a seat for us. Huh?
Officers responded to a theft with the intent to make an arrest, but instead were met with a reckless car ramming from the suspects inside. That impulsive move into a patrol car triggered emergency protocols, turning a suspect from driver to a name on the list of expensive lessons in arrogance. Proof that no car is fast enough to outrun those enforcing the law.
Hey, what are you doing? That's your car. I just saw you get out of the car. You right here with this ticket right here? You right here with yes, you did. You left your vehicle unattended.
No, I did not leave that
You could get a ticket?
I was the passenger.
This mother's behavior management system clearly malfunctioned when she thought illegal parking gave her the right to yell and resist police. A mix of oversized ego and total disregard for the law turned a normal situation into a public mess right in an educational environment.
What's the PIN number to your phone so we can call?
Keep a cool head and clean hands, because the law always has a firm answer for those who use children's safety as a shield for reckless behavior.
Damn, you gonna kick me too, officer?
You're gonna call and kick me.
That's a fucking
Can you actually fly if you ignore luggage rules and police arrest orders? The answer came fast when a restraint device was activated to stop a husband trying to get back on the plane despite being banned.
No, Mike! Stop that!
The law doesn't measure emotions. It only asks one thing. Did you follow a lawful order or not? The guy in the passenger seat tried to flex by flashing a weapon out the window, totally unaware he was being watched by BCSO officers in stealth mode. Time seemed to freeze at the moment the suspect stepped out of the vehicle with a weapon in hand, right before being completely taken down by a heavy hit from the vehicle of justice. In the fight between good and evil, sometimes decisive action is the most humane way to protect millions of innocent lives. Trying to turn Homestead into GTA in real life, 3 young men clearly logged into the wrong server. Florida, where Miami-Dade police admins are online 24/7.
I got one here. In the backyard.
You shot me, sir? Where you shot?
Stefan Jones tried to crank up the difficulty by pulling a rifle, but it led to an instant game over. The whole squad was snatched up, weapons seized, and the only reward they unlocked were heavy criminal sentences instead of XP.
I just need evidence.
What's up, man? You gonna let her get her stuff? You know that she's living there, you can't stop her.
This self-proclaimed gatekeeper seemed to mistake himself for the home's private security, determined to block his ex-girlfriend from retrieving her belongings with an extremely aggressive attitude.
Hey, you did this shit.
Put your hands behind your back.
Up, bro?
It's called obstruction. I told him he has to give me his name. He refused. You on parole, probation? Are you on parole or probation?
The climax hit when officers used the stun gun to restrain him, bringing his resistance to a complete stop.
When he gets caught.
When pulled over, Jonathan immediately played the vulnerable victim act, faking a panic attack with tremors and pouting to distract the officers.
How are we being mean and we didn't even talk?
But the moment he saw a gap, he dropped the act, hit the gas, and bolted, forcing authorities into a high-stakes chase and a forceful takedown.
Vehicles approaching on the guard on Lakeshore Avenue. 356 is a white male fleeing blue top. Right now, very top.
In the end, his failed getaway earned him a full collection of charges, from fleeing and reckless driving to assaulting an officer and possession of a drug paraphernalia.
356 keeps units on 3.
Thinking he could use an employee as a human shield for a smooth getaway, he quickly learned that Houston justice operates on a whole different level.
Hold it here. Machine gun by your head, right now. Shots fired, shots fired. Got one suspect down, one suspect down.
The police crushed that delusion with a precision strike, leaving absolutely no room for resistance.
Blackmail.
Don't ever gamble with innocent lives because the only reward waiting at the end is a hard lesson learned from a hospital bed.
All right. Get the med kit, med kit.
Justice may arrive late, but it never misses wrongdoing. Hope today's video gave you some entertainment and a better look at the high-pressure work police officers face every day. Thanks for watching Fast Instant Karma. Peace.